All right, Zatima fans, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Season 4 has finally begun, and the first 2 episodes of the season dropped today on BET Plus. And no, I was not awake at 3 a.m. to watch it, and yes, I am glad that I didn't because good lord. Okay, so let me put this pretty bluntly. And this goes for both episodes. It was alright. Like I don't really think that these were stellar episodes, but don't think that that's a bad thing necessarily, because episode 1 to me kind of felt like a season 3 recap, in the sense of something bad happens to Fatima and everyone has to remind Zach not to blow his stack and lose everything that he has. That's honestly how episode 1 could be summed up. Episode 2, which will have its own separate video, that starts off with a 4-month time skip. So that episode felt like an entirely... Think of it this way. Season 4, episode 1 felt like a footnote to kind of tie up season 3. Zach, control your anger. Season 4, episode 2 felt like season 4, episode 1. In terms of, hey, we have a time jump. Let's reestablish where the characters are and set up things that will happen later in the season. That's the easiest way for me to put it. So with that being said, and don't be offended by the score, but I will give season 4, episode 1 a 6 out of 10. It was just one of those things where I'm like, okay. It's a one and done. Don't really see myself going back to rewatch it. But just so you know, also, I want to put this disclaimer out there. I know that season 4 got the Soul Plane treatment in terms of a bunch of leaks and everything going out online. Thankfully, I wasn't privy to that information, meaning that I went into this season blind. Outside of like episode synopsis and trailers. But I know some people have like watched the entire first half of the season. Apparently that's what some people on Twitter have been saying. So just know, when it comes to my weekly reviews, it's me watching the show for the first time. So I'm just putting that out there. And before getting into the review, you know the drill. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe. Seriously, hopefully we can hit 300K by the end of next month. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Hit that bell icon and select all. That way you know when I post content. Now, we have our season 3 recap. And the episode picks up. And yeah, if you said, Jeremy, in the trailer, if you look at certain details, it's clear that Fatima wasn't shot. She just stressed out. Okay, so I believe Fatima said that she slipped. And she wasn't shot. She's having a bunch of cramps. And it's revealed that Big Repo, basically those gang members, up and left. They just left. Everybody's, freaking out. And then Jeremiah has the nerve to go, "Oh, I'm sorry, Fatima. I didn't mean for you to get hurt." Okay, so then Zach yells at everybody to get out of the house. So everybody leaves, aside from the core group of Connie, Angela, Bryce, Jeremiah, Nathan, Tony, and I think Preston was there too. So when the ambulance finally comes, they do a quick examination, and yeah, okay, she has high blood pressure. We gotta get her to the hospital. So Fatima's like, "Please don't leave my side, Zach. Don't leave me." "Okay, baby, there's just one thing I do." So he takes his sweater, his long sleeve shirt off, and he goes over there to try to rush Jeremiah. But thankfully, Tony and the crew hold him back, because at that exact moment, that's when the police come in. And when Zach is like, "Look, can somebody explain what happened? Because, I gotta, take care of my baby." So that's when Nate's like, "Look, this Negro came up in here with a bunch of other Negroes, and then they tried to shoot at him, and then because he stole something." And it turns out this entire ordeal happened because Jeremiah's like, "Look, I had to go somewhere for help." He stole Repo's chain, brought this over to Zach and Fatima's house, and somebody could have died. over a chain. A chain. So he gets arrested and is carted off to the police station. Now, from there, Zach goes with Fatima to the hospital. Angela stays behind, just keep an eye on the house, clean up the food and everything. And then when everybody leaves, that's when Bryce was not, he's still Bryce. And that goes for episode 2 as well. So he tries to stay behind. It's like, you want me to stay with you? No, Bryce is fine. I can take care of things here. Well, you don't think you need protection? What do you mean? After what just happened, that was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. You don't think I can protect you? That's the thing about Bryce. It's like, he'll seemingly be a genuine guy but he's a complete manipulator and a narcissist. He's the kind of person that he will take a situation that has absolutely nothing to do with him and then try to use that in order to kind of prop himself up in terms of he's just an opportunist. It doesn't matter if somebody's could be clinging to their life, one breath away from death. Wow, that's crazy. Angela, do you need a hug? If you don't just get out of here. So she kicks him out. All right. So over at the hospital, and this is where the bulk of the rest of the episode happens. So we're over at the hospital. Fatima's going to have to stay overnight due to, her blood pressure. And essentially the doctor just says, hey, you need to make sure you don't stress out, for the sake of the baby. But just know for right now, you and the baby are both okay. And that's when Fatima just has to keep telling Zach not to go out to Jeremiah. And he mentions you know what? You need a bodyguard. I'm not Beyonce. Ha! The Beyonce of BET. I see what you did there. But I thought it was funny because, your cousin Madam has Blue. So why don't you have a bodyguard? No, I have not kept up with all the Queen's men. No, I don't know if Blue and Madam are at odds with each other. I don't know what their dynamic is like right now. But in any case, I thought it was pretty funny. Your cousin has a bodyguard. Why don't you? And to be completely honest, Fatima, you've pretty much been Andy's watchdog, or I'm not calling Fatima a dog, but how in terms of how she was acting, protecting Andy back in season 7 and 8, you've been her watchdog or bodyguard. So why can't you have one? It's I got my gun. And I'm thinking, well, Fatima, you did say, 1, you've been trying to do better by not carrying around all the time. And 2, with all the craziness that's been happening in you and Zach's life, a bodyguard might sound a bit out there, but it's something that is completely reasonable, especially based on the events of what's going to occur later this season with Leslie, according to the trailer. Now, after that, he gets a text that Nate, Tony, and Belinda are all at the hospital. And Belinda's on the phone with Angela saying they haven't heard any updates yet, but I'll call you back as soon as I do. Now, that's when Angela... Look, I don't know who's worse, Belinda or Bryce. Basically, individuals who will, as I mentioned before, will try to use a situation to their own benefit to kind of slide in with someone that, they're kind of on shaky foundation with. So Angela is encouraging Belinda to constantly make an effort to get back on Fatima's good side. This is just as bad as when Angela was encouraging Bryce to keep trying with Zach. It's when you're the one who effed up incredibly badly. If a person don't want to deal with you, just let it go. Especially if you're the person who messed up. All right. Now, in any case, Nate and Tony try to calm Zach down because he comes from, Fatima's room just to say her and the baby are fine. They just got to stay overnight. And, he's like, what is she doing here? And then Nate's like, look, she followed me, man. So when they try to de-escalate Zach's anger, when he wants to go out to Jeremiah, yo, bro, don't do it. Think about everything you'd lose. And, Tony says something pretty interesting. He's like, hey, trust, you don't want a dead body on your conscience. Trust me. And then they were both like, what? But then, Belinda comes back and, says, well, Angela's happy that the baby's okay. And from there, that's when Zach is like, what are you doing here? It's well, I was just making sure Fatima, baby okay. It's all good. It's that's when they kind of shift gears when Belinda actually sides with Zach on taking out Jeremiah. Look, Zach, nobody would blame you if you took out Jeremiah for what he did. I was like, yeah, he didn't do it, but he still played a role in bringing trouble to your front door. So that's when, they try to pull her back, but I don't know. Now, then Fatima goes, well, actually, Zach goes back to Fatima's room and they have a conversation. So Fatima wants to keep everything under wraps. She does not want Zach to tell her parents about what happened because, number one, her dad would not let it go. Number two, her mom wouldn't look at him any better in terms of Zach because, my dad likes you, but my mom still hasn't come around like that, which is interesting because, the last time they interacted was when they were both at Fatima's parents' house for dinner, and it seemed like they were on good terms, but I guess not. And that was in season 2, right? So I understand where Zach is coming from because, number one, if anything happens to Fatima and the baby, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. But then there's also the aspect of not feeling like a man for not being able to protect his woman. Like, Zach, you do protect me. And I'm thinking and look, Zach's perspective, baby, if I could protect you, then why are you in a hospital bed right now? And I gotta say, another reason I'm scoring this episode so low is like everybody is telling Zach, let it go. How? This is the second time Jeremiah has either directly or been indirectly responsible for Fatima in a dangerous situation. Episode 1 of season 3, flipped her on the concrete in the parking garage trying to grab her purse. The end of season 3 leading into the beginning of season 4, he stole a chain. He was being chased by a gang. And then brought all that drama to Zach and Fatima. No, not the front door, up into their home. Over a dang chain. And all he had to say, I'm sorry. Just like he said, oh, I'm sorry, Fatima, I didn't mean to. Look, I'll pay you back. So, thankfully, Fatima does say, I don't blame you if you don't want to interact with Jeremiah anymore. Thankfully, nobody's condemning Zach for rightfully wanting nothing to do with his brother at all. I'm thankful for that because last season, Zach, you need to let it go, or Jeremiah has a problem. But the thing is, how many loved ones of Zach need to be put into the hospital before somebody finally says, okay, we got to do something about Jeremiah? No. Because even at the beginning of the episode, over at the house, that's when Nate and Tony were like, you know what, Jeremiah, we can't protect you. We can't save you from Zach anymore. So like I said, it almost felt like characters were saying and doing things in this episode that they should have done in last season. Now, from there, Zach also says, like, Fatima, if something happened to you, everybody going to be looking at me crazy like, look, why didn't you protect her? So you can understand where Zach's thought process comes from. But yet again, Fatima wants Zach to let it go. But like Zach says, what's going to happen if something happens like this again? It's almost like the obvious answer is right there. And I'm not saying murder Jeremiah, but it's almost like you're just making excuses for him. You're just letting stuff slide. But at what point is enough enough? And then they talk, and then she's like, well, how do you plan on keeping Jeremiah away forever? I don't know. I'll think of something, but I don't know. So from there, he's like, you know what? Let's just try to not talk about that. Let's talk about other things like you not being stressed out. How about me planning the baby shower? Fatima says nothing over the top, and let's be real, she wants to be clued into all the details. Now, from there, the doctor comes back in and says, like, look, even though you're good and we're going to keep you overnight, you got to keep that stress down, because if not, we're going to have to assign you on bed rest. And next week, she has a meeting with her OB, right? OBGYN. And Zach says, yeah, we'll be there. For me, this was comforting. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to mix up continuities, but let me just put it this way. Zach being proactive, like, yep, we're going to make sure she's at that meeting with her OB next week. That was so refreshing to hear after the ignorance he was spewing out of his mouth last week on Sistas about not wanting Fatima to be going to the hospital at all for a pregnancy. This was just something I just had to point out. Now, from there, Fatima and Zach have that debate that I knew they were going to have at some point. Her working or not working, because she doesn't want to lose her career, or not work for an extended amount of time. Obviously on maternity leave, but Zach is like, so what? You're not open to being a stay-at-home mom and wife? She's like, no. So they will cross that bridge when they get to it. They will. And then the episode rounds out with Angela cleaning up stuff at the house. And then Leslie just waltzes in. And Angela's like, wait, who are you? It's like, wait a minute. Wait, yeah, you're Fatima's old friend or whatever. And it's like, so what are you doing here? So she's like, oh yeah, Fatima had a key made for me. Liar. And it's like, I saw the lights were out and everything. And I just, stopped to come by, see if everything was okay. I heard about what happened with Zach's brother. Wait, what? And, it wasn't really clicking. Angela's like, okay, this isn't adding up. But what happened? She's at the hospital. Well, hey, if you and Fatima are so close, why don't you give her a call and you can talk about it? Okay, well, I'm going to go. Foreshadowing. And then the episode ends. So, yeah, I guess it was an okay start to the season. Nothing to ride home about, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.